Hello, people. This is Edward King again, um, live uh, with a mugshot this time. Um, it's been said again that you talk pretty brave, something to that effect. It doesn't matter who said it, but you're too scared to show your face. I'm not afraid to show my face. I understand that a lot of people are upset with many of my views, but I'm as entitled to my views as anyone else is entitled to theirs. And as long as I am not going around violating other people with my points of view, I feel that I have every right to attain to my views and my opinions on any subjects, just as long as I'm not going around violating others. And I mean, if anybody feels violated by anything I have to say, they don't have to watch my videos, they don't have to listen to my non-video audio presentations, and they can move on. I mean, nobody's holding a gun to their head, nobody's forcing them to view my material or to even listen to it. It's the same with my Facebook page or my YouTube page or anything like that. I mean, really. I like to think that we have a certain amount of freedom of speech. I suppose I'm deluded that way, but nonetheless, I believe in it and I'm taking a stand for it, and I will be lifting that up. One moment, I've got a popcorn kernel stuck in my mouth here. I like popcorn. Yeah, so there it is. I'm in the comfort of my own home, and here I am. I like to make these presentations looking as disheveled, as possible, and scruffy as I can, because I'm not here to impress anybody with my appearance. I'm not a photogenic sort of person. I'm me. I'm natural, and it's been a kind of a lazy day. I didn't go outside today. I went outside yesterday. I was outside the day before that. I was outside the day before that, and I was outside the day before that. So I decided to just stay home today. Today was my daughter's first day in kindergarten, my 5-year-old daughter's first day in kindergarten. So I was a homebody and spent time with my other two children. And I like spending time with my daughters. I really do. Teaching them, working with them, helping them on their computer. Their computers, actually, and discussing things with them, and it was really nice. The last time, it was just yesterday. Wow, it was just yesterday. Anyway, my 5-year-old, who's terrified of bumblebees, just casually walks up to this grasshopper, picks it up and looks at it in her hands. She's not afraid of grasshoppers at all, but she's terrified of bumblebees. But Rachel said to me, she goes, she's definitely your daughter. And yeah, as a young person, I really had an intense interest in insects, in entomology, bought books on the subjects, and yeah. And I still have, a remote interest in those sorts of things. I can still appreciate the beauty of a mourning cloak's wings, on a nice early autumn day like now, which is where we are in September. I just don't like to think of it as fall time already, But yeah, you see, that's not a halo above my head. That's just that's my lamp that I'm blocking so that it doesn't block out my, it doesn't glare me out of the camera, because I mean, you don't want to miss out on this nice mug here, do you? So yeah, kind of lazy. Didn't even comb my hair, just being my old ragamuffin myself. That's me. But no, seriously, you know what? I am not afraid of discussing my views with anybody, and discussing them face to face. If you think that I'm afraid I don't show my face, well, I'll answer to that challenge. Here I am. There you go. Take a close look. Take a close look here. Okay. Make sure you get every detail, because I'm a man who's lived a full life, and I think I know from whence I speak. And I'm not going to be somebody who crawls under a rock and cowers because I have beliefs that are different than most other people's. I'm not going to do that. I'm not a 20-year-old punk. I'm not, a 30-year-old young man who's just learning a few things about life, because that's what happens. You're 30, really seriously, if you feel old at 30, don't do that. Enjoy your life. This is your prime. This really is your prime. This is a great time to be alive. 30 is not a time to get depressed. 30 is a time to rejoice. You have arrived. You have finally arrived. And, you're still sorting it out in your 20s. You really are. But after that, you can really put some things together when you're 30. So, but I'm not there anymore. I survived middle-aged crazy, so I'm a survivor. I mean, I got some missing teeth here, but war, right? I'm a survivor. I'm still here. And no, I'm not afraid to face up to anybody about the things that I believe in, or sit down and have a coffee and talk with them about those sorts of things. So for those of you who think that I'm afraid to show my face, please tell me why. Is it because I believe in polygamy? Is it because I actually believe that, come on, how can you not believe in something that actually exists? Polygamy exists. It's real. And it's all around us. And I think it's more common than people even realize, given the appropriate definition of marriage. And of course, that's the problem, is a lot of people don't want the appropriate definition of marriage, which means to couple, which means to join. And that's it. That's the act of marriage, friend. I don't have to make this stuff up. It's real. That's the. Now, if you want to equate a marriage with a wedding ceremony, be my guest. I don't have a problem with that. In fact, I think weddings are wonderful. I think weddings are lovely. Two people exchange their vows together in the presence of witnesses, and it's very touching and it's very meaningful, or at least it should be. But let's not confuse a wedding with a marriage. And let's not confuse the act of marrying with a wedding. Because the act, and sadly, that's the problem today, is a lot of people that's all they are, is they're actors. They're pretenders. They're not real. They act married, but they're really not. The world's full of actors. And I think that a lot of people really want the genuine article. But to have the genuine article, I imagine you must first qualify for that. So, society is really a mess. who qualifies to have an actual, real, true, genuine marriage these days? Well, I think that that's something you have to look at. Each of us has to look at ourselves and take active steps to ensure that if that is what we want, then we should be very real about it. And we should call a spade a spade. And the act of marriage is conjugation in the flesh. That is the act of marriage, meaning that you married the person that you conjugate with in the flesh. End of story. That's marriage. Now, to have a marriage, see, now I'm moving from the verb to marry, okay, to the noun, a marriage, a union, keeping that union alive, maintaining that union. That's a different matter, all right? Because a marriage is a condition and or state, a marriage, okay? But to marry is a verb. It's an action, to do the deed, all right? That is to marry. This is really, seriously, a sixth grader should have, the capacity to understand this. But I'm learning there's a lot of people out there that are pretty naive, and they don't even understand the difference between a marriage and a wedding ceremony. I think that marriages ideally should be accompanied with a wedding ceremony. I think that's a good thing. But at the same time, I don't think we should lend ourselves to confusion. And there are a lot of agendas out there where people are deliberately confusing our children so that they can't tell up from down, or the east from the west, or the right hand from their left. And it really disturbs me. There's a reason why policies regarding marriage were in place, and many of them still are. And a marriage could actually be, a marriage on paper. Okay, that's not a marriage. Paper contract is not a marriage. Friend, rings and vows and paper writ do not a marriage make. You can offer all the lip service you wish. You can sign as many documents as you like. You can wear as many rings on your fingers or through your face, or hang as much metal on your body as you care to. It doesn't make for a marriage. But getting back to my point, signing that contract, even that can be annulled if the marriage is not consummated. In other words, if you do not consummate in the flesh, you do not have a marriage, even by the letter of the law. And it can be annulled. It's a thing that isn't. It's the thing that is not. So, you can't even get a divorcement because there was no marriage in the first place. All right, but you can get an annulment. At least we have some remnants of truth surrounding these things, enough to let us know what marriage really is. Now, as for my view on polygamy, it is what it is. And if people want to come at me scripturally, I'm ready to defend my position. And that's why I have never lost an argument about this. Never. I have sent many so-called Bible thumpers whining and yelping back to their pastors because, like the dogs that they are, they're self-right and they haven't done their homework. And it's very important that when approaching me on this subject, that you know what your stuff is, because I've studied it now for 12 years. So you better know what you're talking about when you confront me on the subject of marriage from a biblical standpoint. I have studied the Greek, I have studied the Hebrew, and I've even looked into a little Latin on this subject. And I'm telling you right now, I know what marriage is. One moment. It's time for some of my wife's great coffee. Oh, that's good. She makes a fine cup of coffee. I also know what adultery is. And, I'll just touch on this because I mentioned it in another video anyway, that somebody had implied that I was an adulterer. For the record, an adulterer is a man who is conjugated in the flesh. That means married another man's wife. That is what an adulterer is. Okay? An adulteress is a married woman who conjugates with another man in the flesh who is not her husband. Okay? That's what an adulterer and adulteress is. If that act is not taking place, neither one of them are guilty of adultery. They might be guilty of some other form of fornication, but they're not guilty of the act of adultery. And I really do have to make that clear. I've sifted all the scriptures touching this subject. Now people say, well, I don't back that up with scripture. I don't follow the scripture. Well, then that's your problem. Okay? I do. But if a Bible thumper approaches me and tries to tell me that I am in adultery for whatever reason, then I am going to confront them, because obviously they haven't done their homework. Do not confuse the words put away with the words divorcement. Okay? It's really important to know. Putting away is not precisely the same thing as divorcement. All right? Although there's a relationship between the two terms. The lawful putting away of a spouse, okay, only occurs and only for one cause, and one cause alone: fornication. Jesus said the cause. He said it twice. That's good enough for me. He could only say it once, and that would be good enough for me. But he said it more than once, what the cause was and is. That's really important to understand. If a man kicks his wife out the door, all right, he's put her away, but that doesn't mean he divorced her. All right, if a wife has the police bodily remove her husband from his home, okay, she put him away, but that doesn't mean she divorced him. And interestingly, you'll never find one example of a wife divorcing her husband in the Bible, because according to law, biblical law, it's impossible. Wives do not have the authority to divorce their husbands. And that's good. There's a reason for that. But I won't get into that right now because I'm running out of time. But just thought I'd drop that off among you Bible thumpers out there. That if you're going to approach me with this line of reasoning, you better know your business. For the record, I would just like to state that I've never divorced anyone in my life. And for the record, I'd just like to state that I did never put away my wife. So that kind of puts me in the clear, doesn't it? And also, if you're going to come against me and confront me with this, Mr. Bible Thumper, you better understand something else. You had better be in a position to say that your wife is the only woman you ever joined to in the flesh. Otherwise, zip it up. You have no room to talk. You have no room to speak. I don't care if you repented. You have no room to come against me. So there it is. God bless you. Thanks for listening.